Hi guys, it's Travis from the Third Gear Speed Shop with another video. What this is a distraction project, I guess you could say. You can see the dirt track Camaro in the background, but I have been working on this 34 Ford 5-window Jalopy for the past, I'd say about a month. I went to an event in Abbottstown, Pennsylvania about a month ago today, called the Jalopy Showdown, and it was at Lincoln Speedway, an old dirt track, and tons of hot rod roadsters, 4-cylinder flatheads, V8 flatheads, vintage 55, 56 Chevys, 40 Fords, some old sprint cars. It was just a really cool event, and tons of show cars and customs in the parking lot as well. So I came home from that event and was really inspired to build one of these old Jalopies. I had built one back, I guess it was 99, 2000, something like that. And I started collecting parts for another one, so I sort of had everything in the works to put it together. So when I got home, I put the Camaro project on hold and started to work on this thing. And it's ready for paint. I've done all the fabrication that I need to do. I just need to break it down and start painting it. But I'll go through some of the stuff I've done to it before we get into the painting, and then probably do a final build photo or video. But the first thing I did was take the 37 Ford pickup tires, or wheels rather, and cut the center of them out here and put in the center section from a AMT 36 Ford to make it look like a 37 wheel. So the 37 wheels from the Revell kit are great, but they have the missing lug nut detail, and they just have like a hubcap you put on. So I decided to make my own, and then I drilled out the center axle section and just extended it just a little bit. You can get resin pieces from Replicas and Miniatures of Maryland. You may be able to get some 3D printed ones as well. And I know Ron Kuhn has some nice 37 style artillery wheels. But I just decided to make my own because that's what I had, and I'm not really spending any money really on aftermarket products for this thing. So I made 4 of those. The wheel backs are some old resin pieces I had from way back when, just some 40 Ford wheel backs. And on the front driver's side, I fabricated a little a little steering place for my drag link to attach to. So that was the first thing I did, and then this is the body on the frame, and just to give you guys a kind of a look around the frame, and then I'll pop the body off so you can see exactly what went into the frame. But it's a 34, it's an AMT 34 5-window, and cut out the top. I left the side windows intact. I didn't really hog those out or anything. I guess before we go any further, I'll just show you my inspiration photo. I've been basing most of my modifications off of this photo from 53 in San Marcos, California. I love the look of this car. It's it's not super radical, but yet it's you know, it's purpose built for the dirt track. So it's got those wheels that I was showing you earlier, and I tried to replicate the body modifications as close as possible to this photograph. So if you notice, the front you know, the front bar is the same as that photograph, and this radiator is a resin piece, but it's cast from a 40 Ford. It's probably a 1/25th scale, I'm not sure, or I'm sorry, 1/24th scale. I'm not exactly sure where the origins of that resin piece came from. I had that in my parts box also. So let me just pop the body off here and give you guys an idea of what went into the frame. If I can just slide the, it's a little tricky sliding the body out. There we go. So this is the frame. I'm actually using the only thing from the 34 kit is the body. The rest of this kit is, or this build, is from the 37 Ford pickup by Revell. So I ended up on the frame, I had to pinch the frame right here and here through the middle. So I took out the X member and I pinched the frame to get the body to fit on top, and then glued it back together. And then the rear cross member, I had to move forward just a little bit for it to line up, the wheels to line up in the center of the wheel openings in the body. So in so doing, the geometry of the rear end was off. I had to shorten the torque tube, and I actually had to shorten the radius rods. As you can see, it's kind of a botched job on this radius rod right here, but anyway, I got it shortened, and so the geometry of the radius rod fits, and everything mates up. So this rear end unit is from the 37 as well, with the spring and the stock 37 rear end. Scratch built all the roll cage. This rear bumper scratch built, and then all the bars you see here scratch built. I made the floor pan, or footboard, I guess you could say, out of super thin styrene, so it can kind of bend and snap into place with my firewall. I just cut out a hole for the transmission. I'm using the 37 gearbox, or steering box from the Revell truck kit, but I'm mounting it with this mounting plate instead of the way it came out in the kit. So I'll have a drag link going from here to the wheel that I showed you earlier, and then in the driver's compartment, I just attached a little bracket to put my steering column in, and built a battery box. I'll put a battery in there, and the seat is an old resin piece I've had forever, and I just welded some legs onto it. I'll be putting them like a military style seat belt and attaching it to these tabs here and here, but it's just an old military seat that I'll attach to these points right here. And like I said, the front end was scratch built bars in the front end, scratch built radiator bracket, so the radiator sits in there. nice and securely. Those front shocks are from the 37 kit that came with this frame, and the rear shocks are friction shocks that came in the 29 Ford pickup kit. So once the rear end is in place, the the friction shocks line up to the rear axles. So that is the frame. I just sort of put a little throttle linkage or pedal there, and I didn't spend too much time on that. Also have a brake pedal, and brake pedal is actually in the got a master cylinder on the body, and then inside I made a little brake pedal inside the body. And if you can see inside the dash, I hogged out the gauges like I did on the 55 Chevy, and also put this little hook. So in these old Jalopies, these old race cars, they would build in these little hooks to hook the gear shift so it wouldn't pop out of second or third gear as they were going around the track. So it's a cool little detail, but I made these mounting strips so that the body will mount firmly to the body. I had to like shim it out a little bit on this side, just so everything would fit nice and snug. So got a pretty good fit on the body. And the engine is going to be the 37. Again, 37 flathead V8. I've made my I got made some ribbed water hoses that basically I just took a piece of styrene and rod and wrapped it with some detailing wire, just 26 gauge black beading wire, jewelry wire, and I'm going to paint the whole assembly black so it'll look like a ribbed hose or something similar to it once I get it all said and done. And then I just bent up some styrene rod for the lower radiator hoses. I added this little fabricated this little piece right here where the shifter's going to go, and then I made like a little clutch pedal that'll come up through the floorboard too. Also made a shifter that'll just slide down into that little hole. Also fabricated some headers. Fabricated some the headers in the kit are really nice, but they weren't clearing my frame, so I went ahead and made some headers of my own, just out of styrene rod, and I slid a piece of styrene tube in the rear part of it, and sort of sanded it to where it has this sort of megaphone shape. So made those. And that's where we are. So I'll probably start painting this thing up soon, and I think what I may do with the engine is do another little tutorial series maybe on detailing a flathead engine. So you know, some of you guys that may be new to these types of engines, you can kind of get an idea of how to detail them up. They're pretty easy to detail and lots of fun to detail. So you know, before I go ahead and complete this engine, I'll probably do some short little videos along the way showing you how I detail a flathead. So stay tuned for that, and thanks for watching, guys. See you next time.